Good morning, everybody. We'll give a couple seconds here for some people to jump on. So this morning we're talking about, I entitled it, I'm sorry I didn't get the memo. And here's the thing. I'm sorry I didn't get the memo. Think about this. There's so many instances in life, small, some big, when somebody is just really, really upset with us, that we're not reacting the way they think that we should be reacting. We're not putting the emotion into it. Maybe it's not the emotion that they think. Maybe we're not showing enough emotion. And the response is, how can you be so heartless? How can you be so cold? How can you not care? I love that one. How can you not care? As we move through awakening, more conscious action, anybody who is really truly working on themselves and trying to move forward in life and to take responsibility for where they're at and the thoughts they're thinking and the emotions that they're having and the actions that they're taking, one thing happens, and that is that detachment starts to happen. And Buddhist belief around detachment, they take it out there pretty far. But I'm not gonna get into a massive amount of Buddhist stuff here. But it is said that the path to your joy and your happiness is through detachment, because all suffering happens when we are attached to things and to people. It's been my experience, the more solid of an attachment that I've made on something, when I've really, really clung to it, and then things did not go the way I wanted, that I experienced suffering. I definitely experienced more suffering. But then the art of detachment, of letting that go and actually holding your, the whole concept of the bird in the hand, the more you hold on to it, the more the bird wants to get away. And that you can, if you let the bird go, and if it comes back, then it's yours. Excuse me. I'm gonna get everybody yawn this morning. It's really, really quite true. Because if you look at like love, true love it's just open. It's non-attached. It's unconditional, right? We all want unconditional love. We all want to experience it. We proclaim that we give it, but then we kind of grab a hold and try to get someone else to do something that we feel that they should do. And we'll hold our love in multiple ways. We may not call it love. We may call it something else. It may be, you do this and then I'll do this. It's typically some manipulative move where we're trying to control the situation and we're calling it love. But love is not controlling. Love is actually very detached and open and allowing of each person involved in it, or the event. Maybe it's around an event, maybe it's more just situational, whatever it is. But it's just allowing of things to manifest the way they need to for that moment, and just open to that. When we get into that state, often a couple things happen. People can think that you're kind of aloof, and the big thing is that they'll say, you're not compassionate. You're not compassionate because you're not breaking down. You're not having, this whole event going on inside of you where you're like, right? You're not throwing a fit. You're not overreacting. You're not acting the way the way most people do. Therefore, it must be wrong. You must not be emotionally whatever. And big one, compassionate. You're not compassionate. There's a humongous difference between compassion and emotional reaction. We can have tons of emotional reaction and have zero compassion. We can have a very limited emotional reaction, even zero emotional reaction, and have tons of compassion. State of compassion comes from that openness to allow a situation to manifest however it needs to see its truth, and to let the truth be what it is. But to still feel, maybe not react, but to feel into that space of what the situation is, and to what potentially that other person is feeling, to connect to them, to be empathetic to them, to understand that, yes, this is going on, but to also hold that space so that that person has that ground to explore their emotions and whatever's going on. That's not to say that you can't be compassionate and be in a loud outburst of emotion too, because you certainly can. What I'm really discussing is the detachment aspect of it. And good morning, Amy. Good morning, Delta. Madison. It's the detachment aspect of it. That state of detachment can definitely bring in, for the majority of people, make them think that, and I say think because if they were actually tuned into their heart space in moments, you can still feel when somebody is not walking away and just holding. It is more about the presence that you bring into the situation in that moment, and not walking away from the situation in your presence. So to not turn away from it, but to remain and hold that present level and just witness what is going on. And you hear me probably talk about witnessing a lot, as I use the word witness a ton. And when I say witness, there's this, I kind of look at it like this is, years and years of different study. And one of the things that I've kind of gone to is it makes it easier for me to get into this space sometimes when my ego really has a hold of me. So I'll look at I'll paint this picture in my head that when I'm feeling all this charge and I feel very reactive, and like my ego really has a hold of me, has a grip on me, and wants to go play, but I'm trying to hold back. Or maybe I'm in the middle of, I don't know, maybe I'm really upset and my ego has really got a hold of me, and I'm either crying or yelling, or I'm reacting in one of those ways. Even in that moment, I have developed this space inside myself that I refer to as a witness, that is kind of sitting, you could say, kind of sitting back here in a chair and just watching the truth unfold, just watching the play, watching the interaction of the drama that's going on within me and how it is playing out, and what is going on and what is happening in the physical world. And just sitting there and just being still, kind of like a Buddhist monk, just sitting there, being still and watching the whole situation play out. And it's not saying anything about it, it's not trying to get in there and make a point, but it's just sharing this space of witness, of peace, of love, of just viewing. And it's interesting at first, that space, that witness, has a really tough time. You can't really hear or see, experience that witness. And here's where the majority of people are. This might be you even. And that is that, like, either what the heck is she talking about? Or or you've had that little taste of this knowing inside yourself that everything that is spewing out of your mouth in this moment, everything that's coming up inside of you, is actually causing separation between you and God, that it's not your truth. This is not who you want to be. I mean, how many times have you had a rip-roaring battle with somebody that you love, and then you walk away, or you say to them, this isn't even this isn't even me. This isn't even, that you feel like something just kind of took you over, and you're experiencing this aspect, and you're just like, whoa. And this can definitely happen like when we've had too much alcohol. It's a little bit more prone to happen. And that's that the ego will definitely just come out and make use of that space with us, because we don't have the ability to really allow our witness to control the situation more. But a lot of people operate in that ego state consistently. And that ego state keeps us feeling as though we have to be attached to the situation. That we have to be attached. We have to really step in there. We have to really go there. We have to, there's something wrong with us if we don't feel into this more. If we don't go, oh my goodness, yes, I feel that way too. If we don't react a certain way, if we're not crying about something, if we're not emotionalizing it a certain way, maybe we just don't really feel a whole lot of emotion about something, and we're just literally we very feel very detached from it. That detached state is not that you are emotionless. It is that you are allowing things to it's kind of like you're just sitting at the beach and you're just watching the ocean. It doesn't much matter what's going on in the ocean. Maybe there's some waves. You see some dolphins jumping out there. The water's coming, the tide's coming in and out, in and out. Some are bigger waves coming in than others. You hear the water, feel the breeze, but you're just sitting there and you're just watching. That's truly that witness state, and that's a state of detachment. You're not trying to change the ocean. You're just witnessing the ocean. You're just watching the ocean. You're just paying attention to the tide, to the waves, to what's happening on the ocean, and you're just open to it. When we sit and we actually watch the ocean, or something like this, we know that we can't control it. It's a body of water. There's no way that we, all by ourselves, in this moment, are going to be able to control the ocean, right? That same ocean is present within each one of us all the time. All the time. We have a choice to sit at its shore and watch it and decide how we're going to react to certain events as they come up, which might mean not even reacting and just allowing it to flow, or jumping in and trying to gather up the water and react to it and go, no, I don't want you to come into shore right now. I mean, imagine a person standing on the beach trying to push all the ocean water back, saying, no, I don't want the tide to come in now. I can't come in now. I can't come in now. And getting really, really upset about the tide coming in and trying to push the water back. And that seems absolutely silly, right? It seems silly. But we do this all the time, almost probably every day, in our relationship to people, to life, to experience, to things that are going around us, and we're constantly trying to push that tide water back as though we control it. You don't control shit. That's the realization that you have to have. The only thing that you're ultimately in control of, so you can't control the ocean, just like you can't control the currents of stuff going on around you. You most certainly cannot control another person. You can try to manipulate the situation with another person, but that again is your ego trying to get somebody else, and remember I said that on the front end, trying to get somebody else to do what your will is, instead of just being detached from it, open and unconditional loving, allowing each individual to show up how they need in any given situation. But we tend to, in small ways and sometimes in very big dramatic ways, try to control that ocean flow and prevent the tide from coming in. Or maybe we try to get the tide to come massively in, and we do silly things. Hold on, I see Bethany here. In practicing the detachment you're speaking about, will that in turn allow us to focus more on only our own imperfections and flaws? Yes, that's exactly where I'm going. So like I said, we really don't have control over dilly squat. What we do have control over is what's going on in here. So I always say it's an inside game. Everything's an inside game. The more we practice that and play at that inside game, the more we work on this, the more an alignment to our spirit we truly are. When we feel frustration, sadness, anything that is not joy-based, and I'm going to just use joy as my base word here. It's joy meaning bliss, happiness, contentment, connectedness, okay? So when we feel joy, in a state of joy, that is saying that we, this physical aspect of us, this embodied aspect of us, which is about this much of us, is in alignment to everything greater than this little bit of us. So that bigger picture of us, you could say, to your soul, to your spirit, and to in alignment to God. Okay, so when you feel joy, you're in alignment. If you're feeling anything other than that state of connectedness that joy brings, then you know that this aspect of you and your higher self, that true you, is out of alignment. So the true aspect of us knows that we can't control the ocean, knows that this situation that seems so immense, so overwhelming, that it's just kind of taking us, is here for a perfect reason. It is here to help us expand, help us grow, help us wake up more to our reality, to ourselves. It is not a bad thing. It is all in our perception of it, our viewing of it. So our spirit can see this bigger picture, right? More from that God perspective, you could say. And can get into it. But there's this piece of us here that has ego attached, that wants to try to control the situation. And when Ashley goes in and goes, no, so that causes this detachment, which causes frustration, suffering, fear, anxiety, anger, depression, all these negative emotions, okay? All those negative emotions, lower grade emotions. And that is just because we're just gripping at things and trying to get everything to do what we want, okay? So the inside game is to really develop that witness, get very familiar, make friends with the witness. First of all, realize that the witness lives there. Find the address to the witness. Go knock on the witness's door and say, hello, I'm so-and-so. Quite literally. I mean, it's get into that groove of paying attention, and every time you can step aside in your own head and get into that witness chair and just view, even if your mouth is babbling on, even if you're in a total, yelling match, or you're bawling your eyes out, or you're overcome by fear or something like that, your heart feels like it's going to explode or something, whatever that is, there's always a space for the witness to come up. And every time you go and you make just contact with that witness just a little bit, you gain a little bit more awareness of that witness mentality and seeing things from a different perspective, that detached perspective. And here's what you're going to find. The more you do that, the more peace you're going to feel inside yourself, the more connectedness you're going to feel inside yourself, the less pain, the less suffering. And you're going to be able to see, because with that viewing of the ego, as Bethany is pointing out, the imperfections and the flaws, you can look at them as though they're imperfections and flaws. They're lessons. They're aspects of self that are that we each have, that the corrections, basically. They're things that we might need to work on. And as long as we're trying to work on them from that ego state, we're never going to really truly get rid of them, because the ego is going to make us think that we got rid of them. But then the ego has this awesome little game that it plays with us, that the ego is the biggest role player on the planet for each one of us. The ego has 1,000,001 masks, and will always manage to come in. It'll be our best friend. It'll be the supportive, awesome, sweet person that is so giving and so caring. It'll be the proud person that you went and did that good thing. It's telling you you're a good person, you're a good person. It's shaming you for thinking, for judging, for acting out. It's doing all these things that, like every time you feel guilt and you're beating yourself up in your head, that's your ego. Every time you feel shame and just like, you're just like crushed because, I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I did that. I'm such a horrible person. That's your ego. Every time you do something really good, and maybe you don't vocalize it, so you understand that principle of like, don't just run around saying, I did this, right? So no boasting. Well, your ego probably has you not boasting, and instead is you're inside saying, you are so good. Not only did you help those poor people, but you also didn't boast about it. That's your ego. That's truly the inside game that you got to kind of be cautious of, is that recognition of ego versus witness. The witness is going to be open and flowing and more detached. There's going to come a state of peace, and peace is a detached feeling, because you're just letting the ocean flow. You are just viewing it. So you're going to feel a level of detachment, but with that detachment, as you learn to work into that, you're going to feel extremely grounded, centered, and connected. Okay, so notice I used the word connected there instead of attached. So you're going from a state of attachment, holding on, trying to make something really happen, to a state of connectedness. Connectedness is where you're truly feeling and connected and in alignment to, so that state of joy, the state of peace, the good stuff. You're in the flow. Things just happen for you. You can see the beauty in every situation. No matter how it might be perceived on the outside, there's beauty in every situation, right? The silver lining to every cloud, even. You can see that. And there's no real suffering there. In that place, you may feel pain, but you recognize the pain as though it is a lesson to teach, a lesson to expand, a lesson to go deeper within self, and to get more corrections done within self, and to better tap into that witness aspect. But good morning, Michael. Good morning, Crystal. When we're in that ego state, you kind of feel like this constant gripping, this need to know, need to control, need to get answers, need to see the results. Very focused on, but this isn't here, that's not here. Needing for approval. It's all need based. As we inquire, as we work through these to an inquiry, meaning inquiry into self, as you go deeper in self and as you inquire in self and you start to look and question, you're going to notice, with a little bit of practice, you'll notice very quickly, like, oh my gosh, I just did this, and then you're going to be like, wait, that's the witness telling me, that's the ego telling me that I just did this, because your instant reaction is going to be to criticize self. that critical mind that we have of self, that's all ego based. It's not spirit based. It's not the witness in action. It's the ego trying to cause separation again. Once you get into a stronger sense of connectedness with self and with God, things start to naturally form easier in that department, and you actually kind of have a tough time attaching to things. You really do, and then it really gets into like, yeah, but you're not feeling this, and then people will get mad because, again, we're back to but you're not feeling it, you're not compassionate, you're not over emotional, why aren't you reacting? It's like, it's not that that didn't hurt. It's not that is not, troubling me in some way. It's just that you're doing your internal work. So a lot more of the work is happening in here instead of external. So realize that one of the biggest challenges too, when I'm presenting to you here, is outside influence, other people. Outside influence is one of the major things, which is why I titled this, I'm sorry I didn't get the memo, or something like that. So, and I'm gonna share a little story. Yesterday was a very interesting day. The name of the day should have been manipulation. I mean, it really came across with a lot of things, from people bringing to me their scenarios around manipulation and not quite recognizing it as manipulation, and I had that happen. Like 3 different people brought me these scenarios, and it was all manipulation stuff. And I didn't, I'm like, I think at one point I was like, okay, great. Like, all right, this is like number 3 that's walked in my door today talking about manipulation. And then I also had some at-home stuff going on that was this all-day cycle of drama that just would not let up. And it consistently went on until about 11 o'clock last night, where, and I'm sure it'll probably continue on a little bit today in truth, because I am dealing with teenagers, so it's going to continue a little bit. But there was a whole bunch of or one of my children was doing a strong manipulation play, not seeing it, and now this is going to become a lesson there. But there's just like all this desire, and what I'm saying here is that what I kept having come up yesterday was where one person or multiples was trying to get somebody else to do something and saying, I love you, I want you to do this because I care, because I love you, so you're going to do this, or else this is the reaction that you're going to get. So they were making a threat about, like, you do this or else I'm going to take this away. So I'm not going to help you financially. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to support you in this way because you're not doing what I want. I'm not going to support you in that way because you're not doing what I want. I'm going to physically act out in this way because you're not doing what I want. And then coming back to, the side that is trying to make the manipulative play is saying, but I love this person and I want them to, it's like, I love them, I want the best for them, I want them to do what I want them to do. I know what's best for them. I know what's best for the situation. That's bullshit. It's like, when you're trying to tell somebody else what to do, nobody can ever know what's best for the other person, which is why it's so important to get into alignment with your witness and see where the ego's at. And the more you can practice that internal game and start really working on your own corrections, because we don't know what's right for us if we're not in alignment to us. If we're not really truly tapped into who we are, then we don't even know. And that's where all of a sudden we get misled down all these other paths, and we're easily manipulated into different things because good morning, Lori, because we believe that other people can see and can make a better decision than what we can. But often you have to realize that other people are making a decision from their ego and from their emotional state and what they feel is best for us from their life experiences. So when we give advice, there is no such thing as unconditional, completely detached advice. When we give advice from our backing, from our experiences in life, from how we think, from how we feel, from the drama and the trauma that we've experienced in life. And we're now speaking out and giving this advice from that vantage point, which can be completely different than what the person that we're giving advice to is coming about. So it's like you can present something, but you have to realize that every single thing that we present to each other is coming from a flawed state, because our life picture, our experience is nothing like anybody else on this planet. Okay? So when you get these points, and sometimes they can come out very strong, like manipulation, you need to do this for your best interest, or else I'm gonna pull away. Okay? Number one, realize how controlling that is. There's conditions. If there's conditions attached, it's not true love. That's for sure. Anytime somebody retracts their love from us in any fashion, maybe they pull their energy away completely and they just shut down. That's a pull away of love. Maybe they actually verbally say, I'm pulling my love away. Like, I'm not going to continue doing what I normally do because you're not acting the way I want. That's also not a statement of love. So look at that and see if how your attachments to those things are really there. And yesterday, the end result of like all this manipulation stuff that was coming at me in multiple ways was I hit a point where I believe one person thought that I should be reacting a certain way, thought that I should probably be more emotional, and even told me that they wanted to see, and I was like, I was trying to explain that, I'm at this point in my life where I'm just trying to let it roll through, and this person was telling me how I know that it was okay to just let it all out and to get angry and to let it be signed, and how they wanted to hold that space for me, and they wanted me to just go ahead. And I'm like, understand, if I actually go there, if I let my ego take hold in this moment or in something like that, I'm not going to, I always have the statement that I'm going to burn down a village. Like I see a dragon flying through the village and just taking out the village, and then, and I'm like, and then we can just start clean, right? Because fire is purifying. So if I burn down the village, if I let my dragon loose and I burn down the village, well, the new grass will grow and it's all good. And oops, sorry. So I hit the Red Cross building, and I hit this and I hit that, right? And that's I allow that to come out, and I go, whew, like I feel like I'm going to go burn down the village right now. And then I come back and I try to get into that witness state, and I might put myself on timeout, as I call it, or something like that, and I start to process through things. Well, this particular person was telling me, they're like, I want to see you burn down the village. It's okay. Let it out. And not understanding a state of detachment. I really, truly, in that moment, even with everything that was kind of going on throughout the day and that they didn't even know about, the different things that had consistently been hitting through the day, I still felt extreme peace and calm inside my body, even with all this shit going down that was happening, and my hands were kind of tied to. And here's the realization. My hands were tied to it. It was a beautiful place to be in. And then you pack in like the last probably 6 months of different things that have compiled that would all kind of send me over the edge. And as this person was saying, it's okay if you want to blow up the whole universe. That's fine. I'll stand there and I'll support you. Let it out. It's okay to feel that. And I tried to explain, I said, if I go there, if I let that out and I step in and I let all that stuff out and I let my ego run the show to that level, I may not be able to stop. And if I give my ego that full control, I'm going to suffer. I'm going to suffer. I'm going to feel that suffering. I'm going to feel that pain. And I don't want to feel that pain because I'm enjoying this happy space that I'm in of detachment. I am enjoying this happy space of peace. I'm enjoying this space where I can help, where I can touch the lives of the things that are happening and hold space for it. And really, basically, I'm sorry I didn't get the memo that I need to be reactive in this moment, because I don't feel like I need to be reactive in this moment. And I was puzzled, so puzzled. I don't think they got it still, but I went on with the evening, and I ended up, until about 11 o'clock last night, and I dealt with things very, very calmly. I actually called my eldest daughter in Hawaii, and her and I had a little powwow, and she was very supportive. I mean, I allowed my ego to come out with her, and I vocalized, and I got some good frustration out to her, and she's just like, Mom, breathe. And I'm like, I taught her so well. She's such a smart young lady. She brought me back to this centered space and was just like, breathe, like, come into this. You're being reactive right now. And I was like, I gotta vocalize this to you. Let me vocalize it to you so that by the time I'm actually dealing with the situation, I can be in that witness state. I can be detached enough and not reactive. And that's the thing. What do you need to do to be more attached, to really pay attention? Because like, even in that moment, I knew that I needed to vocalize some. I wasn't hiding from the feelings. I wasn't hiding from the things that were coming up. But I took it to a source that was not in the situation. So I wasn't sharing my frustration, my ego, my dragon with what was going on in that moment. But instead, I went to another source, a safe source that was really physically detached from the situation, but still understood things well enough that I could vocalize, get it out, and have a soundboard there, and then brought me back to that state of, okay, I'm breathing. I know what I need to do. Which allowed me to enter into what could have been a really nasty situation in a much calmer state. Calmer, detached, yes. Maybe I came across as not as compassionate to the person that I needed to talk to, but here's the thing. Everything I did was out of love. There was no overreaction going on. Holding a space and just simple explaining it. This is what's going to happen. Here we go. This is it. And allowing myself to be able to hold that space to hear the other person out fully without interruption. The ego is never going to let you hear somebody else out fully. It may shut your mouth up, but what's going on up here? That's the other thing you got to watch out for. Well, you got to watch out for a lot of things with the ego, but one of the big things is that we might be sitting there completely still and quiet and listening to what somebody else has to say, but we are more than likely listening to answer than listening to hear. So I don't know if you understand what I just said there, but when we listen to answer, we're not actively listening. We're listening in the state of, okay, oh, you just said that, so I'm going to have this come back, and I need to make this point to you, and I need to make that point to you, instead of listening to hear the person and to feel the person, to feel what's going on in their world and in their world, okay? And that is unconditional, unbiased, just letting the other person be and show up however they need in that moment, and coming at it from a space of compassion and love. And then from there, taking a pause and breathing into it and going, and then coming up with your answer. So letting whatever you're needing to share come after the fact, not you thinking about it while the event's actually going on. So I do have a quote. The impulse not to suffer is understandable, but there is something else that must accompany genuine inquiry, which is the desire and the willingness to see what is true, to see how we ourselves are putting ourselves into conflict. This is from a life-changing book. I recommend lots of people to read it. So anybody watching this, I recommend you guys read it. It is a book that will probably get you scratching your head and making you wonder, and you might even not like what he has to say. It's definitely penetrating of the mind, heart, and your gut, and gets to you in a deep way. It is a very deep book. If you can't handle a deep read and you're not into, really taking yourself into that space, then don't read the book, because it really will change. And it's all about enlightenment and the pain and suffering of enlightenment. Now, enlightenment's not all organic chocolate, roses, and wine. There's a whole lot of shit, and the awakening process can be definitely painful sometimes. Hold on. Tom, a lot of people listen but don't hear. Yes. Lori, what's it called? The comments we're covering. Its title. I will put a link in the comments. It's the end of your world. I'll put it up again. End of your world. Uncensored straight talk on the nature of enlightenment. I read this book probably, gosh, it was right after it came out. It's probably 7 or 8 years ago, I think now. Don't hold me to that. I can't quite remember. Maybe it was only 6. Yeah, it's just a very deeply powerful book. I love it. It's probably one that you want to read a couple times over, and it's not a quick read. So, definitely not a quick read. But I hope that this was at least beneficial to some. Realize that, if somebody's not reacting the way you want them to react, that look inside yourself. Look inside yourself and see how you're trying to control the situation, because that right there, it's not about their reaction, it's about your reaction. It is truly all about us, each individual. When we get upset about somebody's reaction or lack of reaction, it says more about us than it does about them. So where are you at? How are you handling things? And realize that maybe they're just practicing detachment. Maybe they're just into that right there. Or maybe there's stuff going on that they're not quite ready to discuss, and they've pulled themselves back so that they don't burn down your village. I like what I was talking about. Who knows? Who knows? You don't know what's going on inside anybody's head. Take everything lightly but seriously at the same time, and make it more about you than about anybody else. So focus on your inside game, not somebody else's. Hold space for them, love them where they're at, and have a fantastic day, guys. Okay, I love you. Thanks, everybody, for all your comments and all the sharing and the hanging out for this a little bit longer Conscious Coffee this morning. Really appreciate that. As always, if you have it in your heart, if this touched you at all, please hit the little share button down there. Facebook loves to see shares, so please share it. And I will catch you guys tomorrow morning at, I guess tomorrow's Friday, huh? Tomorrow morning at 6 a.m.-ish. Okay, bye. Love you.